Hello, everyone. Ryan here
Hi.
again for the next Afterverse, and we today have a special
Oh, I
guest.
said hi too soon. Hi.
Colleen decided to join us because this last Bible study was a very special one. It was on sex, love, and marriage from the Song of Solomon, from the perspective of the Song of Solomon. So we thought it'd be a great idea if we just did this Afterverse to that Bible study together, so that we can share a little bit of our own journey and things that we've learned along the way. One of the things that would probably be helpful is to share about where both of us were at in life around the time we first
First
met.
met.
Colleen and I met online, actually, and we knew each other for years before we actually ever met in person. And the
7.
yeah, something like that. Well, five,
7.
5, 7, somewhere in there.
We can't even agree on that.
Yeah, we can't. I have no concept of time. So anyway, the neat thing is we developed a friendship and an openness from the very beginning that didn't involve any type of intimate impropriety or dating or flirting or anything else like that. We were just friends, and I think that was very key in when we actually met. In us,
Yeah. Very key.
yeah, very key.
I told Ryan that if he ever hit on me, I would stop talking to him.
Yeah. We met online in a chat group, and she asked some questions, and nobody was answering them. And I decided, well, I'll try and answer. And she was like, "Are you a man?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, if you ever hit on me, I won't." I'm like, "No, I just wouldn't mind having a conversation and trying to answer your questions." And became friends from there. But to establish where we began, around the time Colleen and I met, I was in a place in life where I didn't trust women at all. I had this idea that I did not believe that women were actually capable of loving anyone other than themselves. That's the kind of place I had gotten to uh, in myself, which obviously closed off my heart to an actual lasting, loving relationship, right? And maybe Colleen wants to say where she was at during.
Yeah, briefly summing up, after my childhood, I didn't trust men, and I thought all men wanted was sex, and that they would just look at me like a piece of meat and weren't interested in knowing me at all. That they're just looking for a wife to have babies with. Your turn. See, I'm not the camera person here. He is.
And so the psychology of that, obviously, since that was kind of the built-in thing within me, was that all I ever did was pick women who actually only could love themselves, really, and couldn't really bond with me, or I shut them out of actually reaching me, one way or the other, right? So I kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Colleen could probably say the same things about the different men in her life that.
Well, the men in the religion that I grew up in, wives were supposed to obey their husbands. And whether my ex-husband, whether he wanted me to obey him or not, or even the guy that I was with after him, whether they wanted me to obey them or not, I still obeyed them. Because, like, that was my
You shall
upbringing. And that, yeah. No, yeah, it was like, obey. Don't have a brain.
Yep. Obey,
Like,
obey.
think like me, talk like me, act like me, be like me, believe like me. And yeah, it was fake.
But it's what you thought you were supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's kind of what we learned in the Song of Solomon. Of course, with the Shulamite woman and Solomon, both of them had their own perspectives and their presence and their authority and their decision making and the choices that they made for each other sets the stage for the equality of the relationship that gets way overlooked oftentimes, I think, amongst certainly smaller church organizations and whatnot, maybe not so much in the large ones, but yeah, religions can get
Right.
so obviously that's where you came from. I
Right.
came kind of from a similar place too, right? Where where there was a hierarchy to things, and there wasn't, which I definitely believe gets in the way of having the type of relationship that we saw in the book, The Song of Solomon. But so, coming from where we both came from, and the fact that we had developed a long-lasting relationship online of just friendship, and we were able to be honest with each other about stuff, talk about our wants and needs in life, if we ever got into another relationship, what kind of relationship we would actually want to have, all that other kind of stuff. So even though we had set an awesome foundation, those conditions of my beliefs and the conditions of Colleen's beliefs based on her experience still created emotional blocks in both of our hearts. Once we finally got together, and of course at first everything was just absolutely wonderful and all that other kind of stuff, and we discovered something that neither one of us has ever had, and that was a relationship before the relationship, right? And we got married very early on after meeting each other face to face, because we definitely felt this was the one. You know, I could open I was ready and willing to open all 6 parts of myself to Colleen. She was ready and willing to do the same thing. And so I go to open my heart, and it's like, oh, well, this door's locked, and that door's locked, and that door's locked. But I was still opening parts of me that I had never opened before, so that carried us through for a while. And of course, as the relationship goes on, we start to realize, hey, there's some things that are getting in the way. We have some blind spots here and there where we're not able to do what we saw in the Song of Solomon, where they remained vulnerable, they remained open, and they remained present for each other. And I think both of us started internally questioning ourselves and the other person about, like, am I doing something wrong? Why are we not emotionally connecting like we were, right? The commitment was not lost. The desire was not lost. But we started having a difficult time communicating about things that hurt us.
Yeah. Well, I made a promise to myself, if I was getting in a relationship with you, I wasn't going to obey you. Like, I was going to be myself, and I was going to be real. And remember, we took those pieces of paper and we wrote down all the things that we wanted in a man or in a woman, vice versa. And you basically were every single one of those.
Yeah.
Or you said you were.
Or I said I was.
Were you lying?
It's been a long lie if that's the case.
Yeah.
But no, that's one of the things that we kind of discovered, is that both of our lists were completely compatible in a lot of ways. And it was exciting too, because I felt like for the first time in my life, I could express myself intimately without fear of rejection or fear of shame, because the things that I desired in a passionate relationship are the things Colleen desired in a passionate relationship. Right. And we got a chance to openly talk about all that kind of stuff. So we ran into those roadblocks where somewhere along the line, those emotional wounds need to have God's help in order to open up, because Colleen is a very honest and open person about herself and her life, and is willing to go to great lengths to forgive people for things, to find understanding, to spiritually grow and emotionally grow. And I think I would say the same thing about myself. I'm willing to humble myself before others when I make mistakes and stuff like that. I'm willing to try. And we still kept running into roadblocks, right? And what we learned is, we have our physical and logical self, and we have our soul and spiritual self, and we have our heart and emotional self, right? And the heart is the bridge between the two, the conscious mind and the eternal spirit. And we can't heal the heart with reason. And that's where I was failing, is I kept trying to solve my problems logically, because those are the tools that I had. Or I tried solving them spiritually, but I wasn't solving them emotionally.
So, for example, I would be having like an emotional day, and I'd be upset about something, and Ryan would be like, logic, like his brain telling me he thinks this and he thinks that, but what was missing was his heart. and his care and his empathy and his compassion and what just happened.
Oh, no, it just does that.
Oh. It's
Sorry.
shut up.
The screensaver comes on.
Okay.
So what was missing was, I wasn't responding back in an emotional way.
You were more responding like a scientist.
Yeah, because once
Like pointing out, well, this is what happened, and this is what you do,
yeah,
and why are you not doing it?
exactly. Because
Your logical brain.
my logical would want to solve the problem, right? Would want to fix. I wanted to help. My intentions were good, but
I wanted to solve the problem too.
yeah, she wanted to solve the problem too. But coming from a place where I had an original idea that women can get too wrapped up in themselves, as soon as they have a problem that's on an emotional level, I immediately don't buy it or something emotionally, right? And I go into logically trying to solve it, because if somebody's not willing to accept reason, they must be exaggerating, right?
Right.
And I had a completely wrong idea about emotions. You can't rationalize an emotion. That's what makes it an emotion. It's not rational. Mm-hmm. It's a feeling, it's an experience, and it's something we have to get through. So an open heart.
Yeah, so that was you with a closed heart.
Yeah, that was me with a closed heart, right? An open heart actually cares for the other person's heart when it's wounded. They care about the feelings that the other person is feeling. A closed heart, like, let's say somebody hurt Colleen at her job, right? And some guy was being rude to her. What an open heart would do would seek to emotionally comfort her. Me with a closed heart, I want to go attack the guy that hurt her. Mm-hmm. Right? And try to solve the hurt with reason, right? So instead of her getting the attention, the care, the compassion she needs from another person, I'm out there trying to fix whatever broke and
trying to beat people up.
Confront the guy that gave her that feeling in the first place, right? And there are one of the things that we wanted to mention that we learned is that between us, there was 3 main reasons why a heart is locked. And the first reason being pride, both inner and outer pride. Having a lack of humility, which is just basically the simplest definition of humility is whatever the truth is, right? So having a lack of humility about ourselves and about the other people. And we went through charts and lists and stuff on how to identify pride within ourselves. Do we have things like a desire to be recognized and appreciated? Do we have hurt feelings when others are promoted but we're overlooked? Do we focus on ourselves rather than on others? Do we blame others for their failures? Do we become defensive when we're criticized? Are we concerned about what others think of us, right? Do we have difficulty in admitting when we have failed another person? Do we view the other person as lower than ourselves, right? And of course, if either one of us is judging the other sex, like I was with, and Colleen, men only want sex, and women are incapable of loving. Well, we're automatically coming from a standpoint under pressure, only when there's like some kind of emotional problem that we can't fix, that where we hit those roadblocks, suddenly those 2 other parts of ourself come out and they're in conflict with each other because she's better than I am and I'm better than she is, right? And these are all matters of pride. Yeah. Things like desire for others to meet our needs, a desire for self-advancement, desire to be successful apart from God's blessings and directions, refusal to give up personal rights, right? Desire to control others.
Nobody's going to admit that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, yep, that's me.
But it is through taking, and we don't have to go through all of them, but it's doing a pride inventory on ourselves as where we have struggled with things in ourselves and how we perceive the world. Answer some questions about why, once again, we're controlling, we're managing, we're manipulating, and we're not trusting God. We're relying on ourselves. We're relying on our own feelings.
Well, that's an important one.
Yeah, we have a self-sufficient attitude, excluding God or others. We focus on our knowledge and experience rather than on being teachable and a student, right, that God can teach. Feeling sorry for ourselves, self-pity because I'm not appreciated, right? Constantly judging whether we're getting enough, not getting enough, giving too much, not giving too much. These are all actually issues of pride. Instead of just being an open channel, willing to love another human being no matter what's going on, right? Because we all have bad days. There are times I have a bad day or whatnot. So if Colleen is an open channel, she'll be like, hey, what's going on? Even if I'm crabby, right? So likewise with her. But if I have a closed heart in myself and she has a closed heart in herself, it'll be like, what are you complaining about now? What now? What's the problem now, right? Those are all issues of pride that block us.
Yeah.
So some of the proper attitudes is being eager for others to get the credit and rejoicing when others are lifted up. Desiring to promote others. Concentrating on serving others. Accepting personal responsibility and having a patient, forgiving attitude with others. Receiving criticism with humble and an open spirit. Being concerned with being real. What matters to me is not what others think, but what God knows, and being willing, to die to my own reputation, right? Being quick to admit failures and to seek forgiveness when necessary. These are all measures of humility because it's whatever the truth is. Did I?
Sorry. The giggles, no.
And also yielding our rights. There are times, we need to yield our rights to be compassionate to another human being, right? Like, I'm watching TV right now. What are you doing? It's my right to relax and, whatever. But maybe my spouse needs my attention and needs some help, right? So it's all about the attitude of whether I'm open or not. And by addressing issues of pride in myself, can I then take those defects and those blocks where, once again, I'm the key master here. I'm the one who shut that part of myself off in the first place. And I'm the one who kept God out of that part of myself in the first place because I'm the judge, I'm the king, and I'm the ruler in every one of those areas of pride, whether it's inner pride or outer pride. And outer pride is I'm the greatest guy on earth. And inner pride is
Nobody likes me.
Nobody likes
Everybody
me.
hates me.
I'm just a victim all the time.
Yeah.
Pity me. And we every one of us goes both ways. One of the results of pride on these levels, since everyone fails us and we fail everyone, is the next big thing is bitterness. And bitterness is the experience where we feel we are owed something, right? Well, the world hurt me, so I'm owed this. I'm owed respect. I'm owed compassion. I'm owed love. You need to treat me right. You need to do this right. That's actually bitterness. That once again is putting a legalistic perspective onto everyone else on how they're supposed to live and how they're not good enough.
Well, bitterness is also the oozing your pain into the world, into others, and making that all part of your story of victimization. It might be true, absolutely true, that you've been victimized, you've been harmed, you've been hurt, you've been whatever, but it really is not. No one else has the ability to pay for that. Nobody else has the ability to carry it. Nobody else has the ability to heal it. Period.
Yes, but
They just don't.
Once again, this is why we are disciples of Christ, because there was one who was able to pay for these
Right.
things, which gave us the roadmap on how to heal these things in ourselves. But first and foremost, there has to be honesty.
Right.
We can't solve a problem that we won't acknowledge exists. So the first step into opening the doors that are blocked in our heart is that self-honesty of pride. The second is addressing our own bitterness. And we both described two different facets of that. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening when we have these levels of pride and we have these levels of bitterness within us about how the world treated us and everything else, and how is we compensate and overcompensate for those things with moral failures. Mm-hmm. Things like eating too much, drinking too much, drug addiction,
Shopping addiction,
sex addiction, control addiction, a need to always be in charge of everything and tell everyone what to do, a need
Master-slave relationships.
yeah, building master-slave relationships, which is what Colleen experienced, where a woman just has to obey, right? There's no master-slave relationship in the Song of Solomon, and there's no master-slave relationship in a union where Christ said, I am here to liberate you. He didn't just say this to men. He was saying this to women too. So both of our experiences in a marriage are supposed to be liberating, not master-slave. And we make excuses for those moral failures and stuff like that because of our feelings and our emotions and our stuff that are just locked up, bottled up, can't be addressed, and won't ever be addressed because, first of all, we have to address our pride, right? So that is the difficult thing. And one of the ways to do that, to also address our pride, is to list every hurt we have had from others. Not to take their inventory and say what they did wrong, but for us to own it and say, things like, I was hurt by my father because he did this to me, and I never really felt like I'll ever be good enough because of it, right? The reason why we address those things is so that we can actually then forgive them for that and allow ourselves to feel it. And I don't know how long of a list of hurts and people that you had in your life.
Really, when I started doing the Caring for the Heart Ministries, it didn't matter how many I had.
Yeah.
I was on the third one. And I understood at that point that no man in my life is going to pay for those things. And there is no amount of... nobody can pay the debt. It was too big. Nobody on this earth can pay for it. I could live my whole life with people trying, and there was nothing that I could even think of that would pay for it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's rather ridiculous that we expect the people who hurt us to be the ones to heal us.
And they're not going to.
When I'm physically hurt, I go to the doctor. I go somewhere else to get healed. When I'm spiritually hurt, I'll go speak to someone else. Mm-hmm. Not, but when I'm emotionally hurt, for some reason, I keep going back to that other person, demanding they fix this pain in me, instead of me owning the pain in me and realizing that pain is within me, right? And I need to do something about it.
And realizing the pride in that of having God send his son to pay for all that pain, and we're going, nope, I'm going to.
Yep, or you're going to.
Or you're going to, yeah.
And that's the inner and outer pride, which leads to bitterness, which leads to acts of moral failure in our life, where we then have shame too when we look in the mirror and we're upset about the behaviors that we're doing in our life because we're hiding things like how much money we're spending on something, Right. We're not being honest, right? So the key is to have this list and finally, for real, not to hide the things in our life that harmed us. See, I had done lots of inventories. I had done fear inventories in my life. I had done resentment inventories in my life. And I've even done behavioral inventories in my life, like my conduct towards others. But I had never done an emotional inventory. I never did.
It's because you're a locked head.
Because I was a locked head. I never, and that's what this list was. Who hurt me? What was the hurt? How did it affect me? And then for the purpose, once again, like I said, not making a list of the wrongs of others, but to acknowledge the pain within me that I had kept secret and hidden and didn't address with anybody else because it was what I used as my tool to be able to justify the way in which I lived in pride and bitterness. And so we had a forgiveness prayer. And for every single person on that list, we said this prayer. And I'll just read the whole prayer. It starts off, Father, I am a child of yours and have been forgiven a debt I can never pay. The blood of your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, cleanses me from all sins. So we acknowledge our debts can't be, we could never pay it. And so therefore that immediately takes away that anyone else should pay the debts that we feel they owe us too, right? I renounce the enemy and his desire for me to focus on my thoughts and on myself, my needs, my desires, and my hurts. So we're taking the focus away from me, and onto something greater. I renounce the temptation to be self-focused and pride, causing damage to whoever, like my father in my example, through my rejection of him or her. Because as long as I am holding him accountable to the pain he gave me, I'm not fully accepting my dad in a loving and caring way of full acceptance. I am holding something against him, a debt, right? So then I say, I choose to forgive my dad for whatever the pain was that caused me to feel this. And I acknowledge the feeling. And here's the big part. This is where we really put our trust back in God. We say, I'm willing to accept the emotional pain and consequences that my father had caused me. And I ask you, Lord, to take back the ground I gave to the enemy through my bitterness, and I yield that ground to your control. Lord, would you bring healing to this pain? Would you speak peace to my heart on this issue? And then you wait. You pause for a moment, and you let God speak to you. And some of us get a vision. Some of us get a sensation. Some of us get a feeling. Some of us hear something.
A verse.
Sometimes we get a verse. But in that moment of meditation, God does answer us. And the more you believe in that, and the more it happens. And the interesting thing is even if you start off these prayers one by one for each person on your list, by the end, you will strongly have reactions to each one. And then it ends with a blessing of Ephesians 4:31-32, right? Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice, and be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God in Christ also forgave you. So this puts into perspective in every way our responsibility for our pain. It takes away others' responsibility to fix our pain. It acknowledges that Christ paid for that pain, and it allows us to open up, and instead of trusting ourselves
To carry it.
to carry it and to manage it and to fix it, it gives it back to God. And when I was going through my list and I was saying these prayers for each and every person, at one point I just started bawling. Because the more I said I am willing to accept the emotional pain and consequences, I felt it. I felt them. I had tried to bury them for a long time, but I felt them. And the thing is after that, I realized I actually felt them every day. I just denied I did. Mm-hmm. So we are paying for this pain.
And so are our spouses.
If
we don't forget.
So holding on to it, trying to fix it, trying to manage it is not doing anything. We are still paying for the pain. And we have paid a dear price for that pain because we ourselves have carried it. And it's time to put it back to where it belongs and to acknowledge Christ's worth in paying for this for us.
Sorry,
and asking. I am boring my wife right now.
I'm just tired.
I feel so bad. No. So, let's see. Moral prayer. Oh, there's also, so we don't have to get into it right now, but there is a moral prayer that you can do about the things in your life that maybe are the moral result of your actions based on bitterness and based on pride. There is a prayer for that, right? So this whole process helps us mirror God's acceptance and love. And we get to then mirror that acceptance and love. It also mirrors the acceptance and love that we find in the book, The Song of Solomon, that we read, right? So this is something that we have to continue to practice and communicate from the heart. One of the things that we can freely acknowledge to everybody is that this is not easy. This is not an easy process.
And you're not going to be perfect.
You're not going to be perfect about it. It's not there's no achievement award. There's no any of that kind of stuff. There isn't like some height you have to reach in order to, it really is mostly based on your willingness. to
Yeah.
be humble and honest to God for the love of your marriage and for the love of your spouse. That you want to be the person that you wanted to give them, right? You want to uphold your promise. And so for me, that's where I found the willingness to do this, is because my wife deserves to have the man she knows I can be and knows that I am. I just had these blocks within me where I had to forgive people in order to stop causing her to giggle. No.
I just having a hard time.
What, anything you want to say about this process?
No.
No.
No, I think we've
Oh,
covered
okay.
everything, have we?
So, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to take this process slowly.
Oh, I have to get off camera. That's what it is. I'm done.
She's done. But the whole point to all of this and why we had to do this is because in the Song of Solomon, we see the pinnacle, we see the height of what two people, where they maintain their refuge in each other from everything in the world.
It's terrible.
This is great. This is wonderful. From everything in the world, right? And when something gets in the way of that, you absolutely have the right to address it. You don't have to look at yourself as, well, I'm just a bad husband. I just can't do it.
Self-condemnation.
Self-condemnation is inner pride. Here's the thing. If you can see in yourself what it is you want to be, it's because that's already who you are. Mm-hmm. Something is just blocking it. If you feel bad you're not able to do those things that you want to do in your marriage and in your life, that's flat out scientific acknowledgement that you're aware of the difference, and you know the thing that you're saying, boy, why can't I be this way, is who you actually are. Because you're the one who wants to be that way. So it's what's blocking you that is keeping you from it. And that's why it takes honesty and a willingness to be able to feel the pains that we still carry and acknowledge them. And
it also takes having the ability to stop looking at the other person on what they need to do.
Exactly.
And start looking at yourself and what you're going to do.
Yep. Yeah, and you know, at the beginning of relationships, when people first get together, you're wide open, right? You're just taking them in, you're just accepting them as they are. And you're loving every bit of it. You're discovering who this person is. And then somewhere along the line we go, okay, well, here's my, roadblocks. And she's no longer fitting into these conditions that I need met because we stopped accepting them 100% as they were and started expecting them to fix our issues and to overcome our issues and to answer our issues, right? I wasn't loved enough as a kid, so Colleen's got to love me more than anybody, right? Whatever the case may be.
You're talking about an attitude, though, because somebody doesn't really just say that.
No, they don't really just say that.
Somebody's like,
but subconsciously, it's in the back of our, we see it in our behavior.
Yeah.
And that's all we have to be honest with. We don't have to look at this like, even the word moral failure. It's not an immoral failure, right? We're not condemning ourselves. We're looking at where we're not hitting the mark of our own desires.
Yeah.
This is the kind of man I want to be.
Yeah.
And I can't seem to be this kind of man. Or this is the kind of woman you want to be, and you're not being the woman, that's actually hope. That's a good thing. Because you can realize then, the type of person that you want to be and who you actually are. And now it's okay to just look at what's actually gotten in the way. Because those promises that we read throughout the Bible about the gift of marriage, and the prosperity of marriage, and the fact that marriage is a great place to giggle. That marriage is a protection and a safety from the rest of the world. That's what we all wanted in the beginning, right? Remember the excitement when you and your mate first met? Remember the excitement about the first time you kissed? The first time you looked them in the eye for more than 10 seconds? And you went through that awkward moment where you both giggled. It's because we were open. Because at that time we were open. And if we can do that in the beginning, we can do that again. We just have to address and be willing to address what may be blocking us in our own lives. And we'll all have different reasons. And it isn't, like I said, it isn't easy. It can be humbling. It's not supposed to be humiliating. And it is very helpful to go through this process, like if you're a man, to go through this process with another fellow, and with your wife, or if you're a woman, with another woman and with your husband, right? It helps to have another perspective. We went through this process with a thing called Caring for the Heart Ministries, and it was a wonderful experience. It helped me finally let go of some old pain and sorrow that I had about my church growing up and about the experiences of relationships that I had before Colleen, where I was carrying around guilt, shame, blame, and resentment and anger, and holding everybody else to account and holding myself to account in a way where I was playing God, and not only in my life but theirs, that kept me from allowing God into my heart to be God and not me, right? And every day we continue to walk in this path. And there are days we have difficult days with it. But we both remember the process. He's trying not to laugh. We both remember the process, and we're committed to doing this. And that's the thing, Are you committed to one another? Do you want to be committed to one another? Do you want the things that we saw in the Song of Solomon? Do we want the things that Paul talked about the sanctity and the holiness and the sacredness of marriage? And so that's a part of my morning prayers every day, that I acknowledge to God and I acknowledge to my wife that I still want this. And I'm willing to put in the work to get it. And I'm willing to give up the stuff that I used to put all the work into that really wasn't my business to fix, but God's business to guide and to manage and to heal. All I have to do is willing to acknowledge it. Jeez. All right. This is probably one of the silliest afterverses that we'll ever make.
Well, it's...
But marriage is supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be whatever you guys want, right?
Exactly.
This is kind of how Colleen and I are. And what you guys want, I hope you find, again, if you're struggling, or I hope you find a way to enhance if you're doing great right now. It can always get better, because the closer we get to another person, the stronger both people are. And the closer we get to God, the healthier we become. And that is really the glue between us. Colleen says it all the time, that one of her greatest definitions of God is "and," right? Yeah. Ryan and Colleen. God is the glue between us, that which binds us together and keeps us together. And so long as I think we both continue to trust God, we can't fail. And we believe that for everyone on earth. Trust God, clean house, help others is a saying I've heard many, many times, is a key to success. So thank you very much for letting us share. Anything you want to say finally, Colleen?
No, love you guys.
All right. We'll talk soon. Love you guys.